The soul remains. It only changes form.
He saw this decades before any modern study dared to touch the subject. In his diary, hidden among modest pages, Edgar Cayce described in detail what happens in the moments right after death, not as a guess, but as a first-hand account during a deep trance. For him, death wasn't like crossing a finish line. It was a conscious passport that keeps identity, feelings, and bonds intact. The body rests, but the being continues, clear enough to watch their own funeral. This revelation was kept secret for a long time, and it invites us to rethink who we are and where we're headed. Stay until the end, because we'll gather the main lessons that can change your view on life and death. Imagine someone waking from a vivid dream and narrating every detail with photographic clarity. That's how Cayce talked about the beyond. According to him, consciousness leaves the body and, for a while, hovers in the familiar environment, hearing voices, tears, even nervous smiles trying to hide the pain. None of this scares them. On the contrary, the former inhabitant of that body feels a mix of curiosity and calm, intuitively understanding they're not trapped by walls or clocks. This waking interval, as Cayce called it, lasts a variable amount of time. For some, just a few minutes. For others, as long as a long night vigil. The timing doesn't follow a clock, but the soul's ability to let go of heavy emotions left behind. Watching this process gave Cayce one certainty. Cultural fears about post-death darkness are just shadows cast by fear. He described leaving the body as getting out of a comfy bed after a long fever and opening a window to feel fresh air. The first thing is realizing the scene continues, but the weight is gone. Some hear distant singing, others see deceased relatives offering hands. Yet, every reception, he said, respects free will. If someone prefers to stay near the coffin to comfort the inconsolable mourner, they can do so until that urge fades. This detail explains some stories about people feeling a light chill at funerals. Maybe, in Cayce's terms, it's the new arrival's gentle touch on the shoulder saying, "I'm okay." Let's go back to the medium's childhood to understand where this certainty came from. The son of farmers in rural Kentucky, he grew up surrounded by cornfields, dust, and rural silence. At 7, he surprised his mother by repeating phrases he said were taught by a man in light clothes during afternoon naps. When the pastor suggested extra prayers to limit imagination, Cayce just smiled. He didn't see anything wrong. To him, worlds overlapped like transparent sheets. Later, as an adult, he lost his voice after a stubborn laryngitis. With no medical answer, he lay down on a couch, accepted hypnosis, and in trance diagnosed his own inflammation. He prescribed chamomile and honey vapors. Hours later, his voice returned, soft but steady. That was the turning point. Word spread, and people began seeking his advice for both physical pains and spiritual matters. During these readings, Cayce would lie down, cross his hands on his abdomen, slowly count to 20, and ask for higher guidance. Then he'd start speaking in the third person. We see the body of, as if invisible analysts described energetic diagnoses. Witnesses reported sudden room temperature changes, dimming lights, and the air seeming to ripple. On many occasions, he went beyond physical ailments and mentioned soul records, scenes from other lives, emotional pacts still active, meetings planned with people not even born yet. Those listening sometimes left confused, but carried a strange calm in their chest, like a secret gear falling perfectly into place. Cayce stressed one key point. Everything we think and feel creates a field around the body, a kind of personal atmosphere. When the moment to leave comes, this atmosphere determines if the transition is light or heavy. Think of the feeling of entering a home filled with laughter. Now compare that to a place where constant arguing makes the air thick. For him, the soul carried those marks, and right after leaving the body, attracted itself to areas matching its vibration. There was no external judge pounding a gavel, just the natural logic of affinities. Understanding this, every small kind act works like a safe investment in a future state of peace. In today's fast pace, lines, honks, endless messages, paying attention to spiritual subtleties might seem like a dream. Still, Who hasn't felt a chill for no reason or dreamed of someone far away on the exact night they needed help? Cayce said those are reminders that the divide between worlds is thin, almost transparent. Writing down these moments creates a valuable record. Reading it again, you notice patterns and realize it's not random coincidence. This simple practice builds intuitive confidence. Whenever an insight brings you peace and kindness, think about applying it. If it improves something real, a tough talk that gets resolved, an old fear that fades, it might be a sign of true origin. Stories about souls watching their own funeral might sound extraordinary, but they carry practical meaning. Knowing the newly departed still hears our words turns goodbyes into real conversations. A sincere farewell, free of resentment, soothes both sides. So next time you attend a ceremony, remember to speak from your heart, even without a microphone. That simple act can light up invisible hallways. If this perspective feels right, sharing the video with an open-minded friend spreads the chain of mutual understanding. A subtle click on subscribe keeps you close for future updates without interrupting your routine. Maybe the biggest lesson so far is this: we're travelers carrying baggage made of emotions. Crossing the final border, no material object goes through cosmic customs, but every empathetic act becomes a premium passport. Cayce didn't preach perfection. He recognized human flaws, including his own. The invitation is simple. Treat each day as a chance to tune your personal field, adding shades of kindness and honesty. That way, when the time comes to close your eyes, the passage to the next reality will feel like a warm breeze on a summer afternoon. In the last minutes of this video, we'll sum up these ideas into practical steps that fit a modern schedule and might turn into silent companions at bedtime. As we move forward with Cayce's story, the picture gets even clearer. He said that after the soul feels free from the body's weight, a phase appears very much like waking before the alarm clock. Everything around looks the same, but you know the day has changed. Colors are brighter and sounds softer, like the air has been polished. The recently departed person feels, before any word, a delightful certainty that they're still themselves. Memories of childhood remain, love for those left behind, laughter stored in secret corners of memory. This continuity, in his view, was the missing piece to dispel the ghost of fear. If you pause now and remember the smell of your grandma's breakfast, that feeling still lives in a corner of your brain. Cayce said it's the same mechanism. Memory doesn't die, it just changes size and address. He also talked about a glowing cord attached to the chest, like a silver thread, stretching as the soul moves away from the sleeping body, something many near-death experiencers report. This cord would be the last anchor until the full detachment, almost like a climber's safety rope. During that interval, consciousness notices every detail: the sound of held-back crying, the creak of funeral chairs, the scent of flowers slowly wilting. There's no panic, rather, a gentle wonder, the kind you feel when you find a hidden door in an old house. After accepting they don't need to stay there anymore, the soul turns toward a light that doesn't hurt the eyes, but invites forward. The first step, Cayce said, is almost always accompanied by someone familiar. It could be a mother who passed years ago, a childhood friend, even a beloved pet. This presence breaks the ice and guides like a helping hand on foreign soil. If the deceased's emotions are heavy, guilt, anger, attachment, that first step might feel like a sticky swamp. There they realize there's no punishment, just the reflection of their own vibration. Then, remember the old radio logic. You tune into the station matching your inner frequency. It's the same reason a tense room lightens when someone chooses forgiveness. In the physical world, we see family fights dissolve when one person takes the first step to reconcile. Cayce just extended this idea beyond the grave. If we struggle to let go of grudges here, we carry that weight with us. On the other hand, those who practice daily empathy, giving up their seat on the bus, sincere compliments, listening without judgment, arrive with luggage full of balloons, and balloons, as you know, lift you up. In several readings, he described a space he called the review room. It's not a courtroom with marble columns or a thundering voice handing down sentences. It's more like an intimate movie session. where the soul watches the best and worst moments of the past life, feeling in their energy body the emotions caused in every person touched along their path. If they made someone smile, they feel that smile's warmth. If they hurt someone, they feel the other's sting. This doesn't happen to punish, but to clarify. We're students reviewing a test to see where we miscalculated love. This is where many realize how often they ignored a simple cry for help, how often they avoided saying sorry to protect their pride. The reward of this review, according to Cayce, is the chance to plan the next evolutionary step based on that clarity. It sounds complex, but it feels like a home kitchen. You taste, you add salt, you adjust the next batch. Now you might ask, how do I apply something so ethereal when my bills due Monday? His answer would be practical. Start with 5 minutes of silence before bed. During that time, think of 3 situations from the day where you could have been kinder. When you spot them, imagine fixing your action and feel the relief of that release. This small exercise, repeated, strengthens the moral muscle that'll make future detachment easier. It's like stretching for the soul. If you notice changes in mood or relationships, write them down. Nothing too mystical, just personal observation science. If you find value in this, sharing insights in the comments creates a support net motivating others to try it. And if the conversation adds something to your daily life, hitting subscribe keeps the thread open for new discoveries without feeling like empty promotion. Cayce also talked about reincarnation, but not as a way to escape past mistakes. He saw coming back to the body as a learning opportunity. Imagine life as an art school. Each lifetime teaches a different technique. Watercolor 1 year, sculpture the next. The combination of these methods reveals the final masterpiece. When a kid shows natural talent for music or math at 4 years old, maybe it's muscle memory from old lessons. But gifts come with responsibility, using them to help others. If you neglect that, it creates a gap that'll need to be closed later. This makes sense when you think about kids who, even in tough environments, show rare sensitivity. People around these little prodigies feel that spark, but often can't explain it. Cayce gave a poetic yet practical idea. Nobody starts from absolute zero. We all arrive with baggage. We wear the new outfit of a body, but carry the whole closet inside. In the readings, there were stories of people experiencing déjà vu so intense they described streets they'd never physically seen. When investigating, Cayce linked these feelings to details from past lives or astral visits during sleep. The coolest part, he suggested verifying these memories through historical evidence. There were cases where patients named old villages, and years later researchers found documents confirming the places existed. If that's not scientific proof, it's at least a mind-opener to the vastness of the puzzle. Maybe your fascination with a certain country, your ease with a language, or an unexplained fear of deep water are clues from earlier chapters of your soul's book. Notice these stories don't push fatalism. On the contrary, they boost your autonomy. If the law of sowing and reaping works here and beyond, then every daily choice is a vote cast for your destiny. You know that urge to replace honking with a wave in chaotic traffic? It may seem small time-wise, but is huge in the subtle realm. Cayce even recommended a simple ritual. Before getting out of bed, picture a golden light wrapping your body and dedicate the day to one concrete act of kindness. People who tried it shared fun surprises, like randomly meeting the right person in a bank line or getting a call with good news. And if science hasn't bottled this yet, personal practice keeps building informal stats that combined make a pretty convincing map. Over the decades, doctors, psychologists, and near-death experience researchers have named Cayce as inspiration. Best-selling books, TV shows, and top university seminars have brought his ideas to light, though many avoid mentioning him directly to dodge controversy. After all, talking about the soul hovering at a wake still raises eyebrows in some audiences. But that doesn't stop everyday people, quietly at home, from testing the theory in their own way. When someone dreams of a smiling grandpa the night before a tough diagnosis, that dream can give the strength to face the tests. When a mom senses her deceased child's presence and finds comfort, the theory becomes a warm blanket on cold nights. Who are we to dismiss such genuine comfort? As we wrap up this second part, it's worth remembering that this isn't about hunting for undeniable lab proof, but noticing clues scattered like glowing breadcrumbs. Every intuition, coincidence, lucid dream lays the foundation for a bridge between worlds. Honestly, if the final crossing is inevitable, why not start learning to walk with lighter steps now? Here's a tip. Tomorrow, take a moment to silently thank the small, invisible wins. The unexpected message from a friend, the song that played on the radio at just the right time, the sunset painting the sky orange without charging a ticket. Gratitude, in Cayce's view, is like spiritual lubricant. It reduces friction in changes and makes boarding smoother when the last station arrives. In the next segment, we'll break down these ideas into practical steps for a modern schedule and share real stories from people who have tested them in daily life. If this topic sparks something in you, keep your curiosity alive. We'll be back soon with more pieces of this invisible mosaic. We've now finished diving into the quiet pages of Edgar Cayce, and maybe the most surprising detail is realizing that nothing he shared requires golden temples or fancy rituals. It all starts with tiny gestures that fit in the palm of your hand. Try this, for example, listening to silence. On your way to work or while waiting in line, pause the noise of thoughts with 3 slow breaths. In that space, silently ask if any presence has something to say. If memories, intuitions, or a light chill come, just accept and thank them. The point isn't to prove anything to anyone, but to train the perception that Cayce said is dormant in us all. Practice day by day. This simple pause creates a zone of clarity where subtle messages find room, like seeds needing free soil to sprout. Another practice inspired by the medium's readings is the vibrational letter. At night, before turning off the light, grab paper and pen and write, always in the present tense, the most balanced version of yourself. I wake up calm, carry my day with ease, spread kindness along the way, find creative solutions at work. Reading this letter in the morning tunes your energy field to attract matching experiences. It's like tuning an instrument. After a few days, disharmonious noises, rush, irritation, guilt, start to feel odd, and you, almost without noticing, begin choosing more harmonious chords. Stories from people who adopt these exercises multiply quietly online. A teacher, after years of anxiety, started meditating 5 minutes in an empty classroom before class. She soon noticed her students paying more attention, as if her calm flowed through the desks. Coincidence? Maybe. But as Cayce reminded us, coincidence is just what we call it when we don't understand the deeper logic linking cause and effect. That logic leads us to the heart of the message. If consciousness stays awake and carries the taste of our actions, it's worth living, so the next awakening is gentle. This doesn't require monk-level holiness, just daily responsibility. Respond with patience instead of sarcasm. Listen to the child until the end of the sentence. Return mistaken change, even if it's just a few cents. These acts, invisible to headlines, build the priority lane described by the medium. No external judge needed to punish when your own inner frequency decides the journey's fate. To recap plainly, first, death gives the soul a lucid observation period, easing the farewell. Second, the weight of bottled-up emotions shapes how smoothly the crossing goes, making forgiveness an early gift. Third, there's an intimate review where we feel firsthand the impact we've had on others, pushing us to grow empathy now. Fourth, reincarnation appears as a teaching continuation, a new chance to polish talents and fix mistakes. All this points to one invite: plant kindness now to harvest peace later. If any part of this struck a chord, try today a gesture that lifts your vibe. Sincerely compliment someone, offer a glass of water to someone in need, thank genuinely with your full presence. Then come back and share in the comments what changed. Your experience might be the missing piece for another viewer's puzzle. And if you want to keep exploring these invisible backstage moments with good company, a quiet tap on the subscribe button keeps the conversation alive without disturbing your day. In the end, maybe we are night travelers who, stepping off an old train, feel the cold breeze of the station only until the next door opens. On the other side awaits light, friendly voices, and a whole new path. Until that moment comes, let's keep adding clarity to every daily choice, because, as Cayce suggested, the best prep for the great trip is living, so no part of us needs to look back with regret. When the passport is stamped and the suitcase is light, it will hold only gratitude, and that first step beyond the threshold will sound like reunion, not goodbye. Meanwhile, keep your curiosity, watch for little signs, and remember that all answers about what's next start being written right now. If Cayce was right that we watch our own funeral with awareness, every act of love offered today will be tomorrow's comforting memory, and every harsh word will come back as an echo seeking healing. When hurry threatens to steal your kindness, remember you're already scripting the scene you'll review later. If the future image isn't pleasing, there's still time to rewrite the script with lighter choices. Maybe that's the bigger meaning of existence. Waking up, reflecting, adjusting until our inner story matches the story we tell the world. We're all learning, and learning, as Cayce showed, doesn't end where human logic puts its period.